Britain voted in favor of leaving the European Union, and David Cameron is set to resign. Where does Britain go from here?
Well, I'm sure that's a question people are asking themselves all over the globe. And I wish I could give you a simple, definitive answer. All I can really offer are guesses. First and foremost, we have to remember a few things. One is that it was a fairly small victory, 2%. I made the observation online, I think, that had the proportions been reversed, everyone would be saying, oh, well, it's the law of the land, Britain is in the EU to stay, blah, 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 blah. But because Brexit was not popular amongst the ruling class in England or America or Canada or anywhere else, really, there will probably be a lot of attempts to chip away at its legitimacy. Well, it's only 2% of the population, that sort of thing. This is magnified by the fact that Scotland and Northern Ireland, as well as Gibraltar, went for remaining in the European Union. And now, a mere 2 years, a year and a half, however long it's been, since the Scottish referendum, the current head of the Scots government is calling for a new referendum. Now, there are a couple of things that are important to remember. One of them is that the earliest that Britain can physically, actually, truly, really leave the EU is 2 years hence. I don't know, but my suspicion is that they will tell the First Minister of Scotland, that is they being the British government, that she says, well, there's got to be a referendum because there's been a change in the nature of the system. Well, that change hasn't happened yet, and it's not going to happen for 2 years. So I can tell you that if I were Whitehall, I would say you're going to wait at least 2 years till you have your referendum. So I would cool my jets if I were you. Similarly, in terms of Northern Ireland, it's funny to see all sorts of people jumping up and down talking about, oh, well, we should have a united Ireland now. And it's funny when you hear Orangemen saying that. Because remember, their whole reason for not being part of Ireland was being ruled by Catholics and this, that, and the other. Well, of course, now Ireland's not Catholic, as the 2/3 majority for gay marriage shows us. So that hurdle has been overcome. The Ulstermen do not have to worry about being swallowed up by a Catholic country, because Ireland is no more a Catholic country today than Britain is. Less in some ways, actually. But nevertheless, Northern Ireland did go to remain in the European Union. All of that having been said, however, Britain still remains the second or third largest economy in Europe. That's not going to go away. They may take a bit of a beating. The pound may go down for a bit, which will be great news for American tourists. I think that if the pound goes down under $1, you're going to have to fight your way through all the Americans in London. You know, a Savile Row suit for only 80 pounds, yes. No, if nothing else, it will certainly make British industry far more competitive than it's been in years. But that, I think, the immediate economic excitement will pass. What I think may happen is that they may attempt to, for the European side, to apply the screws to Britain, one way or the other, in hopes of, before the 2 years are over, perhaps forcing another referendum where they'll get the right response. You see, that's the way modern government works. You throw referenda at your subjects until eventually they vote the way they're supposed to. And then when they've done that, it's the law of the land, it's sacred. Kind of like divorce in Ireland, as I mentioned the last time. It is the way they do things. Now, if Britain is able to withdraw from the EU successfully, there are a lot of imponderables. One is Ireland, because quite apart from everything else, Britain is, I believe, Ireland's largest trading partner. When Irishmen, and this is independent of the EU, when Irishmen go to Great Britain and Northern Ireland, they're immediately, or almost immediately, eligible to vote and get the dole, get welfare. And in fact, that has been a major source of income in Ireland in hard times, has been relatives in England sending dole money over. So I would almost wonder if Britain makes a success of being outside the EU, I wonder if Ireland might not follow. Again, it's not something I care to make a prediction about. But you see, right now there's beginning to be something of a call in Ireland for a return to the Commonwealth. Not with the Queen as head of state, but a Republican Commonwealth like India or South Africa. And I could well see that happening, especially if this action of Britain's ends up resulting in a reactivated Commonwealth, in closer economic, political, even military ties with Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. It's interesting that Mr. Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, who's never at a loss for non sequiturs, he is very worried that if Brexit should occur, what the future of feminism would be like in Great Britain. So it's good to know that, as usual, he's got his finger on the pulse of something somewhere.
Yeah.
He's quite an interesting man. But the truth is, though, that I think, in all likelihood, if Britain makes a go of it alone, she'll be in a position to be much closer to those countries. And the Prime Minister of New Zealand, Prime Minister of Australia both said that they would have to renegotiate new trade deals with Britain. And they were actually looking forward to doing it one-on-one. Of course, they also deal with the European Union as a whole, so they'll definitely want to deal with them. Mr. Obama gave a very interesting double-barreled message in response. One was that Britain would have to go to the back of the line as far as negotiating trade. That's the way we'll punish them. Because remember, the voice of the people is important until it goes the wrong way. And when it goes the wrong way, then you have to punish the people until they do as they're supposed to. Very important in modern governance. Yeah. Anyway, I digress. But at the same time, he says that our relationship with Britain will remain indispensable. And the British can take comfort in the fact that our president is as incomprehensible with regard to them as he is with regard to anything here. And that's a good thing, I think. Anyway, all in all, I suspect that for the next 2 years, nothing too terribly dramatic is going to happen. But I could be wrong, because there are several wild cards here that we haven't touched on. The one is the example that Britain leaving will give the rest of Europe. Remember that there are strong Eurosceptic elements in each of these countries in the European Union. And again, if I may, I certainly have nothing against the original idea of the European Union. Its original founders were men like Schumann in France, Adenauer in Germany, de Gasperi in Italy, and of course the great and glorious Otto von Habsburg. But their vision of Europe was a Europe in touch with its Catholic past, with its great heritage, a Europe of subsidiarity where the bottom would not be strangled by the top. That is not what the European Union has become. That's a very important thing to bear in mind. The other thing I find interesting is that on the social front, whereas in this country, when the elites want to smash a new social change over the heads of their subjects, they do it through the court system. In Europe, it's done through the EU, which supersedes national legislatures and so on. There are exceptions. France with François Hollande and mariage pour tout, when he pushed in gay marriage. But by and large, that's how they do it. It'll be interesting to see how Britain goes without the European Court of Rights sitting over its head. So, I don't know. I can't tell you for sure how everything's going to go, but it's certainly going to be an interesting ride.